Let me explain. About 23, 24 years ago, I was managing a studio complex in London called Samurai, like the Japanese warrior at London Bridge. The governor there was Jim White, governor of Mountain Records, to some of you better known also as the manager of Nazareth, Hawkwind, with Lemmy, and the amazing Alex Harvey Band.
Or sensational.
Alex Harvey Band. Jim had come back from America and wanted to have a studio complex and an easier life than touring with Dan McCafferty. Jim told me that what did it was the last tour in America at LA. They were so drunk that he had to tie scarves round the whole band's neck in line to get them to the right aircraft. And he tired of this business. Actually, after the record company threw him a lunch in recognition of thanks for record sales, the band went through $12,000 worth of liquid lunch. That was a crate upon crate each of their favourite spirit tipple. There was no food. And after that, Jim decided to call it quits on touring. So he came back to England, built Samurai Studio Complex, phoned me up one day, would I manage it? No problem. Do sound set up for the bands in rehearsal, we had storage, eventually recording studio, the whole lot. A friend sent me a cassette tape, which were what demos were on back then. Only that, there was no digital age. A tape arrived from two guys up in Sheffield. I thought it was so original, so different, I had to go up and listen to it. Went up, met Gary Flounders and Nigel Ward. They were not heavy metal musicians, they were of the new kind. Sort of Journey, Mr. Big, Foreigner, very, very modern, very commercial, not hard at all. But I could see there was real value to what they were doing. And Gary Flounders, his father was the director of the Salvation Army Orchestra. He was multi-instrumentalist, guitar, keyboards, piano, trumpet. He could just do the whole lot. He was unbelievable. Brought them down to live with me in my house. Finally built a band around them. I had a whole band living in my house. Absolute nightmare time. Brought them into Samurai Studios. They got employed. Gary became our recording engineer. And in downtime, Uncle Jim White said, you can do what you like. We'll try and manage Flight 19, for that's what the band was called. Well, over 2 or 3 years, we put demos together. They were unbelievable. They're only demos. Hey, we didn't even have computers back then, really. We had a Fairlight. It was a big, stroppy box of electronics that didn't like working. It did strings, it did drum machine, and that was about it. And Gary, with his partner Nigel, over a period of time, created some of the most outstanding demos in quality that I've ever heard. I'll tell you what the industry had to say about them after you've heard them, but please bear in mind they're not a heavy metal band. It's completely different. And the quality is from 23 odd years ago, transferred to CD in an analogue way, not even through a computer. So what you hear is as it was.
Don't talk voice in the night and my blood turns cold. I hear tears. You finally walked away, and this is not the time to say I told you so. You don't know how long I've been praying for this day. I can't promise the promised land, but I'll keep you safe and warm. Take hold of my hand, I'll lead you through the snow. Counted all the times when he caused you pain. I heard his lies, they were all part of his charm. And having you so near was driving me insane. I never thought I'd ever hold you in my arms. I can't promise the promised land, but I'll keep you safe and warm. Take hold of my hand, and I'll lead you I can't promise the promised land, but I'll keep you safe and warm. I can't promise the promised land. I'll keep you safe and warm. Take hold of my
This is Black Star Riders. All Hell Breaks Loose is one of the rock albums of 2013. Featuring the singles Bound for Glory and Kingdom of the Lost. This is the album Thin Lizzy fans have been waiting for. Black Star Riders, All Hell Breaks Loose, out now, available from HMV.
Today I'm going to tell you about a traditional British Sunday lunch, the most popular meal of the week.
Guess who's back? Guess who's back? Guess who's back?
Play the fucking track!
It's a kind of magic.
Yes, it is a kind of magic that Catbird has returned to Bloodstock, giving you a slivering of comedy,
She said, I like those boots, she said.
a fat slice of unsigned bands,
Here comes the beast again!
more stuffing than your pork belly can stomach.
You've got the common touch here.
From a cellar, from a pub, from somewhere in London, we gloriously give you the one, the only Catbird.
Hey, this is Brian Basher, and coming up this week on Hard Rock Nights, we will check out new music from Motorhead, the Choir Boys, and The Answer, and David Reese from Bangor Choir and Accept will join us for The Queen Speaks. Remember, when you need a fix of rock and roll, It's got to be Hard Rock Nights. Finding tomorrow's classic rock today is what we do.
Purebred rock and metal. Bloodstock Radio.
It is Bloodstock Radio. It is a rock and roll roundtable circus. And before the break, Mr. Neal I'm sure will tell us what we heard.
Yeah, you heard from Flight 19 in the last to first order. Promised Land, the instrumental Flight 19, and a song called Liar. They were demos, absolutely nothing more than that. On cassette, transferred directly to CD without the benefit of any computer software. The extraordinary abilities, musicianship, songwriting is down to basically the two guys who founded Flight 19 is Gary Flounders and Nigel Ward. And in the course of 2 or 3 years that we all worked together at Samurai Studio Complex, the boys turned out a number of songs, enough to fill probably three albums worth. And Jim White was acting professionally as their manager at the time, and the time came to present some of these songs to the recording industry in London. And we all knew these people because I'd had previous dealings with them. Jim had. There was a track record there. So here we had something a little bit different. It wasn't heavy metal, that's for sure. And it wasn't quite the American thing that was coming over, but it was very close to it. And it had a definitive style of its own. And Gary Flounders, an absolutely accredited and incredible musician, arranger, writer, composer, no question about it. So that's what we had on the cassettes. And we started shipping them around, and we started doing showcases at the studio for the record companies. Well, let me see. Atlantic Records we did one for, very big, AC/DC's label, basically, amongst many others. A&R Division came down. We played 6 songs, 3 of which you've just heard. Comment at the end, very nice, lads. And if you'd have sounded like Bad Company, we'd have signed you. Comment number 1. Now, what the hell does that mean? It means the man who made the comment understood nothing about music. Right. Warner Brothers came down and said to Gary afterwards, very, very, very nice, but what are you? Are you a keyboard band or are you a guitar band? Because we don't know. And Gary swung round and said, well, why can't you have both? The man didn't know what to say. Of course, we don't mention bands like Deep Purple and many others. Keyboards and guitars have been getting along with each other for years. It's just idiots don't know that. The third one, I think, was the absolute best, and I believe it fell to A&M. Shamefully, I will name them, because 23 years later, who cares? We did a showcase for A&M, which they paid for, actually, and I think we did that at John Henry's or somewhere like that, a very big and established professional-level studio. And Gary set everything up. You know, we had the whole bit. And when they did the ballad, the one you've just heard, Promised Land, the guy got up, he walked over to Gary and he said, you know, that's rubbish, and walked out the door. And to my absolute horror, the comments collected then and in the following weeks and months was enough to destroy Gary Flounders' love of music and every ability that he had for a very, very long time. And I rediscovered these songs very recently when the two of them came to see me for the first time in 23 years. And for me, I've realised that a huge talent, for me, has escaped. It should have been a fait accompli. Someone should have been able to hear the ability. But that's just me. Malcolm, what do you think?
I agree with you. I think it's very impressive. I really enjoyed listening to them. It sounds modern, to be honest, and it's the sort of thing that could be released now and I think would actually pick up a decent audience.
Karen?
I really liked it. Yeah, I think Malcolm's right. It does sound. It sounds very fresh. It doesn't sound 23 years old. Yeah, absolutely. I really liked it. I love the ballads. But yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Because the three of us think, because obviously we lived it at the time and came through the years, we think that it's very, very much 80s-ized, if I can develop a weird phrase there. It's very much of the 80s, and we're concerned that it's too much of the 80s to count now. Am I wrong about this?
I think you are wrong. I think it could count now, because it doesn't sound as if it's locked into the 80s with the sounds of the 80s. It sounds like something that could have been recorded yesterday.
Really?
There's got the nostalgic feel. Yes, of course, it's got 80s feel to it, but it doesn't. It sounds like a freshness, revitalising in the 80s.
If any, no, sorry, Malcolm.
No, that's it. My opinion.
If anybody out there has got any comments, good or bad, about what you've just heard, please email me, because right now there is a strong possibility that somehow we've got the master tapes of the back catalogue of some of this stuff, and speaking to the two guys, we are thinking about possibly going into studio over a period of time to sort all this out and put right, in my view, a wrong that was created a very long time ago. I am talking to people about it, even stateside, where I think this stuff would probably do very well, bearing in mind that they use national radio networks a lot more than obviously we do in this sort of field. And there is, as you said, Martin, with Styx and Foreigner and Journey over here, there's a resurgence. What do you think of it anyway? Because you're a committed Led Zepp man. It's not your bag at all, but...
No, I mean, for what it is, it's very good. You can hear the musicianship on it, definitely. I mean, it's not really me. I mean, I'm very much more crash bang wallop. But,
all right. Well, we accept that, don't we?
But
Fine.
No, I've heard a hell of a lot worse.
Well, that's also true. There's a hell of a lot worse that sells. To be fair,
you've actually impressed me very much, all of you, because you know I treat you as my friends now, and Malky, professional and friend as well, for I don't know how many years.
Yeah, couple.
And your words matter to me because you were at. Going back through the years, a member of an audience that had some, frankly, unbelievably heavy ability to make and break them. And the industry knew you for that. They used to like what you said about new stuff. They used to come and watch you and listen to what you were saying about it. So your words are valid to me, as much then as today. So it seems likely that if we put it together, that somebody somewhere finally might take it up and do something.
What are they doing now? What are the individual members up to?
Right, this is the fun bit. Both Gary and Nigel, back then penniless musicians, living in my house with the rest of the band, had not a bean to scratch themselves with. Today are senior building inspectors. Nigel's got an £80 million project under his wing. They're driving, really nice cars, Audis, the whole lot, they've done very well for themselves. But Gary, I believe, hasn't touched a keyboard or a guitar in 20 years. And that has got to stop. I phoned him yesterday. I said to him, you have been lazing around far too long. Get your finger out and go back to work. And I mean music. Because I'm convinced that there's something special going on here, and I can't leave it. The guitarist in the band, the one whose solos are so inventive, so clean and precise, is today flying Boeing 747-400s around the world for British Airways. His father before him and his grandfather before him were all pilots. I think his name was just Mark Smith. He was a little guy, he played incredibly. But when the band broke up, because no one had taken it on, the calling of flight was too strong for him. He went through a commercial pilot's course very quickly, arranged by his father, and joined British Airways. And today he would be a very senior captain. The singer, Mark Thompson-Smith, we don't know his whereabouts. The voice is the right voice for those songs. It's
definitely
big, powerful, melodic, exactly correct. We don't know where he is, but it may be come to it that we'll have to go looking. The thing is that I personally don't feel I want to leave it. I've heard it for the first time in all these years. Your words pretty much convinced me that there's something good there. And I really want to get on with it. I have to talk to the boys about it. They know it's on air. They were supposed to be here today. But they're so nervous about it that I don't think they could actually do it. They don't realise, I believe, just how good what they created all those years ago really is, because the industry laughed at them, you see, completely. A total bunch of fools, know nothing, knew nothing, utterly nothing. How can you dismiss that as rubbish?
I'm quite horrified that anyone who calls themselves an A&R guy could have done that, but clearly they did.
Well, you remember with me, Malcolm, 23, 24, 25 years ago, there were a whole new bunch of kids in A&R.
Yeah.
And the seniors were saying, no, we listen to the youngsters because they're our future. And every week that the round table conference that we all know used to happen, right, they'd ask the kids what's great. And unfortunately, if they don't like it, then that's it. We used to entertain them at Samurai. I mean, they're lucky they got away with their lives because Gary, being from Newcastle, had a very short fuse. He really, really did. And if people got too close to him with words, he would lash out like mad. He really would. And I'm amazed they walked out the door. They were so lucky they don't even realise they were close to a near-death experience, in actual fact. You know, there's no question about that at all. So I'd like to think that I'm going to spend a little time over the next few months with these guys, trying to help them along, see if we can come up with anything, you know?
Let's see what happens. But we better press on with the music.
Yeah, let's get some more music.
We can't get much more in.
All right.